everybody, this is Wick3d bringing you a fat, dope, poppin' fresh audio commentary for the #1 replay site around, WCReplays.com. This audio commentary is copyrighted to the site. Don't quote, copy, or distribute it, otherwise we'll send our friendly moderator CrossSync over to your house to remind you of what you did wrong and maybe rough you up around the edges a bit. Right, so try and get this replay paused at approximately 1 minute, and by approximately, of course, I mean exactly, because if you don't, you should really just stop now, because if you can't get a replay to the correct time, I can't teach you anything. Yes, I myself am loading the replay at the moment, having forgotten to do this prior to turning on the recording, so I have nothing to say to you guys. Just give me a minute to get it queued up for myself. So, how's it going? Yeah? Yeah, it's going well? Yeah, how's school? School's fine, that's good. You guys have a nice weekend? Yeah? That's cool. Okay, got the replay paused at 1 minute. This is a game between an MTW Ghost Rider and Incinerator. Both of them are playing Orc. The map is the Two Rivers, but if you really look at it, it's more like a tributary, because it's just one river, but then it goes into two. Anyway, we get the replay pause at 1 minute. This is an extremely specialized commentary, and it's about one thing. And if you want, I'll tell you what that thing is right now. Getting a late barracks and teching faster in Orc vs. Orc versus getting an early barracks and teching later. I'm going to go fairly in-depth into this issue, and hopefully by the end you'll have a firm grasp of the situations involved in which you should tech and get the barracks slightly later, and by later I mean as your first hero comes out, or when you should get a barracks very quickly. So if you've got the replay paused at 1 minute, go ahead and unpause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Unpause. Okay, so as you can see, Ghost Rider is going to be my example of the one who gets the later barracks with a quicker tech. He has the 4 peons chopping wood. He has a burrow and an altar, versus Incinerator, who has a barracks, a burrow, and an altar, and is training peons, as, you know, obviously they both are. So really, the advantages, I'll lay them out right now, to teching quicker with a later barracks are you get bestiary faster, and bestiary is very, very important for the Orc vs. Orc mathematics? I don't know. It's very important for the matchup, because the units that you get from the bestiary include Kodo beasts and raiders, which are the two units that most Orc players will go for in the Orc vs. Orc. Now, if you want to take a look up at Ghost Rider's base, notice how he uses return resources on his lumber peons to get wood really fast so that he can build his barracks right when his hero comes out. Back to the pros and cons. The cons to quick teching are you're obviously susceptible to rush. The pros of getting barracks are faster creeping and being able to rush, and the cons are you don't get those bestiary units as fast. Now, about the Orc vs. Orc harass. In case you haven't noticed, grunts are knights that come in tier 1. And so when you're harassing an Orc, you don't go for the knights. I mean, the whole thing about Orcs is they have a lot of power contained within single units. That's why spells such as Entangling Roots and Ensnare are so powerful against Orcs, because if you have so much power in one unit, and then you have a spell that can take that unit away for, 10 seconds, that's really going to hurt the army. So when you're harassing an Orc, you don't go for the grunts when you're using your Farseer. You go for the Farseer. Up until, I don't know, maybe level 8 or 9, or maybe even never, the Farseer has far lower hit points than a grunt. There's no way that a Farseer is far easier to harass than a grunt is. Now, Incinerator, as soon as he sees the harass coming, he runs all the way away. Now, far be it from me to, chastise Incinerator on this, but I really think that you could maybe leave 2 grunts to finish off creeping while you run your Farseer away. I realize that right now Incinerator is counter-attacking the Farseer, which is obviously a smart thing to do. As I just said, you always want to go for the Farseer. It's the lowest HP unit. But really, I think Incinerator in that situation coulda, shoulda, woulda left some grunts and a wolf or 2 maybe to finish off creeping, because one of the only advantages you have within early barracks is the ability to creep, and if you're not creeping, then a light barracks is gonna, be able to catch up with you fairly easily. Now, of course, when I say light barracks, you're still getting a barracks, as Ghost Rider has gotten. He has a barracks and I believe 1 grunt at the moment, and that's about as many as you could expect given the time. But notice that he is already starting to build a bestiary, while Incinerator's tech isn't even done yet. Incinerator has about the same amount of burrows as Ghost Rider does. Burrows aren't really that important in this discussion. I don't know why I brought them up. Maybe it was you. But, right, so, like I said, continuing to creep, Incinerator knows that because he has the advantage, he must be able to, well, obviously he's able to, he's doing it. He is able to creep a lot faster, and he's got to push that advantage. So, here's another example of Incinerator hitting the road as soon as he even spots the slightest, hint of something bad. The second hero for Ghost Rider is a Shadow Hunter because of Hex. Like I discussed a second ago, when you have so much HP and, tanking ability, and your army relies so much on singular units, like the Orc army does, a spell like Hex, removing a unit for, 20, 15 seconds, is very dangerous. See how Ghost Rider stayed around the extra second in order to kill a creep? That's something that Incinerator hadn't done in the past couple creep jacks. They weren't really creep jacks, not much damage done by them. But Incinerator runs as soon as he sees the other units, which is smart in a way because it avoids way more damage, but I think in the long run it might be better to creep. Now, here we have an example of using Hex as a nuke. It's pretty effective actually, but it doesn't do much damage. Well, it doesn't do any damage. I'm so tired. It doesn't do any damage, but it makes it a lot easier for, Farseer, etc. to attack. Now, using Hex against grunts, immobilizing a grunt for that extended period amount of time is extremely good. And the first grunt of the game dies right there. One of the things Incinerator does extremely smartly here is using grunts to attack the Shadow Hunter, because Incinerator knows that Ghost Rider is going to be going for his Farseer, maybe a grunt or 2. Anyway, back to the battle. Obviously, using Hex to Hex and then attacking with grunts and wolves is nothing special. You notice that Ghost Rider has achieved the all-important first Kodo, and because of this, he's going to be able to devour. And once one person starts getting Kodos, as you see, Ghost Rider's getting his second Kodo out right now. The game, I'll be honest with you, it pretty much goes all downhill from here for Incinerator because of Devour. Because once he starts devouring, it's not that hard to keep eating away at the army. Because when you buy a Kodo, you're buying the price of that Kodo and the damage it does, plus you get for free the damage that grunt would have done, the enemy grunt that is. And you also saw an example right there of Ghost Rider using Devour to get out of a surround. That's a fairly neat little trick. Now that Ghost Rider has 3 Kodos in relation to the amount of footmen, that's human, Wicked. Slap, slap. In the amount of grunts, Ghost Rider has more Kodo beasts than Incinerator has grunts, which means that those grunts can go bye-bye in a matter of seconds. Right, so now that he has a good amount of Kodo beasts, we can all agree. Can we agree that 3 is a good amount of Kodo beasts? I was never really taught the specifics of how many Kodo beasts is too many Kodo beasts, but maybe 3 is a crowd. Anyway, now that he has enough Kodo beasts, he's going to start training raiders. Raiders are yet another element that will remove a single unit from the battle using Ensnare, and they will also be used in the same way that Hex is, in order to nuke heroes, because the Orc nuke is a very slow, elongated process that involves stopping an enemy unit, whacking it, stopping it, whacking it, stopping it, whacking it, stopping it, whacking it, stopping it, whack it, stop, whack. And then I think there's one more whack in there, and then that's when the hero dies. But I mean, it's no Coil Nova, but it does. So, getting the two elements of the Orc nuke, of course, are the Shadowhunter and the Raider, which, using combination of Hex and Ensnare, keep enemy heroes at bay. Now, notice how Ghost Rider uses a ward when he's about to cramp. How do you cramp something? I cramp, you cramp, he, she cramp. Anyway, when he's about to creep a large camp, Ghost Rider lays down a Serpent Ward to make sure that Incinerator won't be coming up on his ass and jacking him. So, because of that ward, Ghost Rider does not creep, and thus doesn't get creep jacked and doesn't lose any units at all. And now that Incinerator thinks that he's not going to creep because Ghost Rider knows that Incinerator saw him, so because he saw him, Incinerator thinks that his presence alone would be enough to stop him from creeping, which isn't true. If any of that made sense to you, I applaud you, and I thank you, because that didn't even make sense to me. Right, so back to this game thingy. More creeping going on. I see a lot of players who are in doubt of what to do during downtime when the armies aren't meeting each other. And I see, unfortunately, a lot of players wasting time, walking around with their armies trying to catch up to the enemy, maybe get off a lucky creep check. But in reality, unless you have level 5 heroes, creeping is the best way to go. As long as you have a scroll of TP, or a speed scroll, as Ghost Rider has here, and that you remain fairly close to the base, creeping is the best way to go, because the high-level heroes in a mirror match are really what throws it off, as well as having more units. But that's whoever said that having a bigger army won you anything. So this game is fairly over at this point. Ghost Rider is getting a Demolisher in the preparation for the tower rush that he's about to pull off, using a couple peons. Notice on the bridge, the left bridge, Ghost Rider has a peon, and the Wolves of Incinerator managed to run right past it. Peon's going to come back later to, I don't know, I'd like to say he does millions of points of damage to Incinerator, but it's probably not true. He will build a tower in the near future, but other than that, nothing special. So now we have Ghost Rider going to attack. Now the orcs, good orc players, or at least most of them that I see, when they go to attack, they will always build a tower, because if building a tower puts a timer on your battle, and when that timer's up, most of the time you win, because I don't know what the watchtower build time is. If someone wants to fill me out on that, that's cool. This is a pretty intense battle, so I want you to put down to 1/2 speed in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1/2. Notice how Incinerator is using peons to attack the Demolisher. That would be near the top of the battle. The reason he's using peons is because they're not automatically targeted during a battle by other units' AI, which means that they can sneak in and covertly take 500 minutes to kill a single Demolisher, and that is a tactic that many players will use. They will use peons to attack various things. Peons are the best. I'm fairly sure of this fact. They're the best worker units at fighting. Anyway, this is a ward spam battle, sort of. Incinerator's Shadowhunter, in case you missed it, picked up a Cloak of Flames, which he is not using to any advantage at all. He isn't standing as Shadowhunter near anyone, which I think is quite foolhardy. That that Glow of Flames could be used to much better advantage. Anyway, you'll see that the peons have, of course, covertly taken 5 hours to destroy that Demolisher, as any good peon would. The battle, however, is not going well for Incinerator, with the vast majority of his army inside the stomachs of Kodos. And none of the heroes of Ghost Rider are in any mortal peril. And the timer on the battle, and when I say the timer I mean the watchtowers, has nigh run out. With the first tower coming up just now, towers completely own the Kodo beasts. You'd think that Kodo beasts were, enduring, but 1,000 HP doesn't do much when you've got a fast attacking piercing unit attacking you, and you've only got one unarmored armor. Now, how does one have unarmored armor? That never really made sense to me, but no, I guess it made sense to Blizzard. That's happened a lot, What's that, Blizzard? All you've made is fun RTS and Diablo 2, making an MMO? Well, okay. Whatever you want to do, Blizzard, you're the ones making money. I'd like to say that MMO is very fun. Anyway, getting back to the game. Now that MTW, Ghost Rider, has won the battle, he's focusing on buildings. After you've won a battle, that's at a base, it's definitely what you want to do. Ghost Rider's putting up additional timers to this battle, and when these timers run out, and by timers I mean towers, when they run out, the game will relatively be over. The intense part's over, so you guys can move it back up to 1x speed in 3, 2, 1, 1x. So right, just back to attacking buildings, using wards, that kind of stuff. Definitely use your Kodos to focus down those buildings. As we all know, Kodos do siege damage, and can destroy a Great Hall in no less than 3 hits. Oh, that was my one mistake of the audio. I have to have one for every audio. I make at least one mistake. So 3 Kodos for Incinerator, and the 2 heroes aren't going to be able to do much because of Kodo Focus Fire. I said it again. Right, but using Kodo Focus Fire, all the Kodos have died except for one by Incinerator. Now here's a good example of the Orc Nuke, where you hex, and then just whack, and then hex again, and then whack some more, and then hex again, and then whack some more, and then hex, whack, stop, whack, whack, stop, whack, whack. And now Incinerator is running away because there are 4 towers attacking him, attacking his Shadow Hunter. Now, fighting a running battle is something that's fairly easy for the orcs to do because of, wards and wolves. You can summon them on the run. And excellent use of Speed Scroll there by Incinerator. He used his Speed Scroll sort of oddly while he was still in the Ensnare. I guess that was just a preemptive Speed Scroll for when he got out. The Raider's not going to be able to catch up to the Shadow Hunter, so they're going to turn back. And, of course, because the towers were set up by Ghost Rider, he doesn't actually have to be at Incinerator's base to own it. So he can be losing his heroes and units left and right, and he can still be winning, Know what I'm saying? Anyway, Incinerator will pulled off another nice example of the Orc Nuke there, except for the fact that his Shadow Hunter ran out of mana. And watch as Ghost Rider aggroes the level 1 creeps outside his base and nearly loses his Shadow Hunter because of it. Not really that big of a deal. I only lost a couple HP. But at this point, Incinerator's stuck between a rock and a hard place because he's either got to try and save his base from a force that he knows he can't save it from, or he can go and assault a base with a force that he knows he can't defeat the base with. If that were presented to me, I'd definitely say that I would not do anything. But anyway, back to the game. What he actually does do is nothing. He sits his heroes in a Kodo and a grunt in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. Yes. That's kind of like the way my brain functions, sitting there doing nothing for no one. Anyway, what Incinerator's trying to do here is have some Demolisher duels. They aren't really going in his favor because the towers are still in range of buildings, and continue to defeat them, as well as the fact that Ghost Rider has the best peon micro of anyone I've ever seen. He repairs that demo like no other. And as you can see, Incinerator's going to try and use wolves to destroy the Demolisher. Didn't really work that well because of the 17 trillion towers that have been set up. You know, I like towers, but most of the time orc players who set up towers are a little bit extensive. Anyway, back to the demo duels. It's time to duel. It's basically towers versus demolishers, with the towers have peons on their sides, and then there's one demolisher on the tower side. It's Incinerators fighting a losing battle here because 3 peons can repair faster than one demolisher. I don't know why at this moment Incinerator is having his demolishers attack 2 separate towers. It's probably not the best thing to do. If you notice, there was this small battle going on over to the left when Incinerator had been sitting there on his buttocks doing nothing when Ghost Rider came up behind him. He used the Orc Nuke and drove Incinerator's Shadowhunter to the Goblin Laboratory, and while at the Goblin Laboratory, right before dying, the Shadowhunter tried to buy a Led Zeppelin and fly himself away. Yes, that was a joke. I made it funny. Fatty make it funny. Yes, I'm a hilarious dude, or so I'm told. So he tried to buy Led Zeppelin and fly himself away, maybe to the Stairway to Heaven, but he wasn't able to make it. Shadowhunter died, and Ghost Rider was victorious. So anyway, back to the point of this, supposedly, you know, I told myself this would be a very focused audio. Guess that didn't work out so well, eh? But, back to the point. Getting the later racks versus getting the normal racks. The later racks, along with the harassment, allowed for Ghost Rider to win this game. That's, you know, you can't argue that. But what you can argue is that Incinerator didn't play with his barracks well enough. I would say maybe that Incinerator possibly didn't creep fast enough. That's definitely something I could say about this game. I could also say that Incinerator could have pushed, maybe, but pushing is dangerous against an orc, obviously, because of burrows, which is why getting that late barracks on a map such as Plunder Isle can definitely help you out, because you're going to be able to get your barracks up, and you're still going to be able to fend off any pushes because of burrows. So definitely on Plunder Isle, I'm going to say you should not build your barracks until your hero first comes out. That's when Ghost Rider build it, and that's when I'd say build it. And if you do, for some reason, get that get the barracks prior to your hero, please creep your ass off and you know, do it for me. Because if you're not doing it for me, then you're not doing it for anyone, really. So you creep really hard if you get that Rex. You creep harder than you've ever crept before, because you better have high-level heroes when those Kodos come and eat your entire army, because that's all that's going to save you. Anyway, this is Wicked. This has been a commentary for WCReplays.com, and I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it's been so long since the last audio, but I've been, you know, carefully and meticulously not planning this one out, and been very busy with my schedule chock full of nothing. If you guys are interested in the progress of upcoming audios, be sure to check out my audio blog, which I update whenever I can, which is a lot. You can find the link in my signature anywhere on the forums. And I'm going to say peace to you guys. Hope you've had a nice time listening to this audio. So this is Wicked, signing off.